I think every kid dreams of playing for Wales. When you were growing up, England, Wales, Cardiff Arms Park, you play that in your front garden every week.
Get Jonathan, that's Andrew.
The first thing I remember was when Gareth Edwards scored a try in a corner in the mud.
Over halfway, the kick ahead by Edwards. He may well get there, and he has.
I remember watching it in my grandmother's front room, you know. Players of the 70s, they were all superstars. Following them was a dream come true. But, you know, you never expect your dream to turn into a nightmare. Losing for Wales is one of the worst feelings in the world.
Disappointments for Wales, a really embarrassing defeat.
I'm stunned. I've never seen such an inept display from a Welsh team.
Standing of Welsh rugby is the lowest ebb that I can ever remember it in 40 years.
Is a critical blow for the man who scored all Wales points.
It didn't make it easy living in the shadow of the 70s.
You get things wrong, so it hurts like hell in truth.
Domster corner, what a try! Oh, and that could be bad.
We were just trying to survive, really.
It's very hard to leave Welsh rugby. It's given me a lot, you know. But I'm 28, I'm not getting no younger, and I've got my wife and a future family to think about.
Clearly, if we're going to compete, we've got to change.
If there was a time to adapt, that would have been the time.
As chairman of the selectors, where would you say this Welsh side's great strength lies?
It was adapt or die, really.
Listen to this cheer for Wales. And everybody here waiting with bated breath. Edwards out to Bennett. That's Ray Gravel taking it back to his forwards. Gravel off the left lead. This is Bennett. Bennett, is he on the line? What a try!
Many of us would like to be transformed to 1978 because for those of us who witnessed it, it was the zenith of Welsh rugby.
Gravel with Bennett outside him, over the 22. Bennett still going.
It was described as the golden era because everything they touched turned to gold.
Edwards with the drop goal. It's there.
They've beaten everybody else.
3 Grand Slams, 4 other Five Nations titles.
J.J. Williams to Bennett. It's another try.
When Wales are going well at rugby, it gives the nation a feeling that probably nothing else American match.
How have you reacted to the news, ladies?
Bit shocked. Yes. Bit shocked.
Well, I always like to watch Phil Bennett because I think he's very, very nice. And sorry that he is going.
Phil and Gareth were titans, and their departure left a chasm.
It's a bit of a calamity for the rugby team, isn't it?
Do you think he'll ever be replaced?
Well, they said the same about Barry John, didn't they? And they said the same about Cliff Morgan. There always somebody comes up behind.
I'll tell you all a story, it is a strange and a weird tale.
You'd imagine when these retirements are announced that the Welsh public would be devastated. But by this stage, there's a belief that success will just continue.
It's a factory making outside halves that'll play for Wales one day.
You look at the old Max Boyce poem, The Outside Half Factory. You know, there's this mythical factory that will just have this production line endlessly producing great players.
The idea was that there was always somebody else, and they would be able to come in and do the job.
So when it comes to the heirs to the throne, it's a case of not where are we going to get this person, but who's it going to be?
Congratulations, Gareth Davies, and something you had been hoping for or expecting, or what?
I didn't really believe it until I phoned up this morning.
How did you hear, in fact?
I phoned the Western Mail in Cardiff about 10 o'clock this morning.
In '78, the new emerging talents are Gareth Davies at 10 and Terry Holmes at scrum half.
It's been a marvellous season for you, yet another sort of understudy to Gareth, if you like. Is it something you'd expected at the start of this season?
Well, I expected to be his understudy, but first fires honours have come through, you know. It's just great.
They're both different characters.
Now Holmes, Gareth Davies.
Gareth Davies, a very classical Welsh outside half. Terry Holmes, much more of a Cardiff boy. But they're a good blend.
I grew up in a small village called Tunbro, with everything centred around the rugby club. So rugby was the big interest in my life. It was obviously hugely exciting to play for Wales with people who'd obviously been my heroes only maybe 3, 4, 5 years earlier, and now you're actually playing with them. It was a young player's dream, I suppose.
You know, to look at these amazing players, you know, world-class players, and being in the same team as them was, you know, all inspiring, really. Playing for Wales was just something that, you know, I never thought I'd actually achieve.
I remember the build-up to the game, stepping into Phil Bennett's, very large shoes. Didn't really bother me. It was just a privilege. And when you're a young person, you think you can take on the world, if you like.
It's quite daunting. How do you follow the greatest player ever? There was only one Gareth Edwards. So I just had to get on with my own style and try to do the best for the team that, you know, I could do with my ability.
John Dawes was a coach, and his line all week was, you know, if you can win this, guys, you're going to be legends of the game.
People were looking at it as if to say, you know, this could be the one. We had a good chance of upsetting New Zealand. It was the game of all games for us.
So we're all set to go.
25 years had elapsed since Wales last beat New Zealand. They were a presence, this dark presence that came from a long way away, did the business, and then went back into the shadows again.
Windsor throws, again Quinnell helping. Out there to Gareth Davies from Holmes. But Gary Owen goes in. Steve Fenwick was up there, Clive Rees as well. and they've won it.
I remember being very physical, very intense, and there was two sides really cancelling each other out.
Holmes to Davis to Fenwick, missed out Gravel to JPR. JPR tackled there. Oh, it looks good. Stirling in. What a beauty.
Played them at their own game. We controlled things quite well. Generally took our chances.
So, a lot of hearts throbbing round this stadium at the moment, I can tell you.
We got the 12-10 up with a few minutes to go. All we've got to do now, I'm going to do anything stupid, put the onus on them to score.
Wales leading by 12 points to 10 and 3.5 minutes of actual playing time.
Unfortunately, then things changed.
So New Zealand, they really will have to try something special. Windsor. And a penalty has been given.
Suddenly became aware, hang on, there's something going on here. In the midst of the line-out, the referee had apparently seen Jeff Wheel elbow Andy Hinn.
I think, they practice it the night before. What if we're 3 points down with 5 minutes to go? We'll dive out the line-up. We know the referee's inconsistent.
It was ridiculous. It wasn't just the one man at the front. You had Frank Oliver at the back diving out as well.
What a moment, and some of the crowd here really behaving very badly indeed. McKechnie then for New Zealand. It looks good, and it is good. And the New Zealanders have gained a dramatic victory here.
Quite honestly, Bill, I'm flabbergasted. Wales deserve to win the game.
It was difficult to take in, obviously, to lose a game of that magnitude in that way.
It was a terrible atmosphere after the game because we felt cheated. And we were cheated.
We could still be dining out on that victory now, I think. Would I do it? Maybe. To win against New Zealand, probably. But, to be that pre-empted, it was a bit disappointing, I think. But, that's New Zealand. That's why they win everything.
I think we're very lucky today. The Welsh side played extremely well, and I think we were lucky to win.
Well, the cup of victory dashed from Wales's cups, and I'm sure the gentleman on my left, Gareth Davis, must be very bitterly disappointed.
Being a competitive animal, it's win or lose, and losing to New Zealand was, without doubt, the biggest disappointment of my life, really.
Well, Gareth Edwards on your extreme left, how do you think they played?
I thought they had a tremendous game, but they were definitely unlucky in the last seconds of the game. And Gareth, I thought, was probably the man of the match.
I think the performance against New Zealand had sort of given us a lot of confidence. Confidence in terms of ability, but also confidence of fitting into the team. So it was a real positive start, despite losing.
J.J. Williams, Gareth Davis again, a superb tackle by Rutherford, Holmes once more.
Scotland probably thought we've got rid of Gareth Edwards, this, that and the other, but they didn't realise the talent that these boys had.
They've gone for the shove over and they'll dive in, and Biggin tries to get there, but the try has been given. Terry Holmes, the scrum half.
The score for Wales is incredible. It's like playing for Wales, it is a special feeling.
Sliced a bit, but it's still useful. That's Holmes. Holmes, big, powerful lad.
After that game, everybody knew Terry Holmes. He was an absolute nuisance. He was a fabulous player.
And Wales have won, and they've started once again on their way to what they hope will be a fourth Triple Crown.
Victory at Murrayfield almost cemented then the feeling of hope, if you like.
The backbone was still a lot of, world-class players who won Grand Slams.
Out to Davis.
We were all playing an attractive style of rugby. And I think, we were coming together as a team again.
Patterson, the ball loose. Holmes chasing him. A try for Ringer. Paul Ringer scores a first try for Wales.
Losing to France was a disappointment. Grand Slam's gone. Now we've got England at home to try and secure another Triple Crown.
Good control there by the Welsh forwards. They laid it back beautifully, the drop goal by Davis.
It's one of them games you could actually enjoy the occasion and the crowd.
Over the 22, inside to Fenwick. There must be a try here for Ringer. Ringer's going to score.
Everything seemed to come off. And if you ever had a chance to sort of beat England, you go out your way to put that little bit extra in, I think.
Griffiths off Benantley. How can he get the touch? Can Elgin Rees get there? It would be a remarkable try, and he's made it. And the Welsh support here, ecstatic, because that, of course, is another championship to Wales and their 4th Triple Crown in a row. What a record.
We were delighted the fact that A, we'd beaten England, B, won the Triple Crown.
The Welsh Rugby Union would have seen that as a pretty good display. Wales, top of the pile again. The heirs to the throne are Gareth Davis and Terry Holmes, and the production line was still working. The dominance would continue. The Big Five were basically responsible for who they played, when they played, and what players were selected.
People would point them out and say, he's a member of the Big Five. Well, what's the Big Five? Well, they're the selectors of the Welsh rugby team. I mean, they were people of immense stature.
They were in control of the game of rugby union.
Jeff Squire, side with a lot of relatively new blood, only 5 players with more than 8 caps.
Our first game was against France at home. There was a great deal of confidence despite the changes.
That's Butler just behind Squire, the new cap from Monmouth. Les Keane, full of energy, full of beans on this first afternoon for him.
It was just a really tough physical encounter.
Squire to Phillips, Holmes links again, Fenwick, Elgin Rees has the try line in front of him, he can't quite get there, will it be a momentum try?
Well, we played exceptionally well on the day.
Holmes looking for the way through, he scored!
We hammered France.
And here comes a try for Wales, Richard scored!
In the hours after the game, the president of the French Rugby Union said, "You have won the game today, Wales, but you have won it by playing violent rugby." Probably a lot of his remarks might have been aimed at Paul Ringer.
I think this whole thing has been blown up so much by the French players after the French game in Paris, who, to be quite candid and quite open about it, are amongst the worst in the world as far as dirty play is concerned.
It created a siege mentality. How dare these people attack us? And that created the mood behind the next game.
There's always an atmosphere, England, Wales. They don't like us, and we certainly don't like them.
Wales is always seen by English rugby people as, a country they should dominate because they dominate Wales in every other economic and social aspect. For some reason, they're not able to do that when it comes to getting on the rugby field.
Good afternoon, Prime Minister.
In 1980, there's a bigger context. Margaret Thatcher is now in charge.
The government has to strike a balance. This is what we're doing. I'm afraid some things will get worse before they get better.
She's taken on the unions, and the steelworkers are fighting back. There are 100,000 steelworkers on strike across Britain in that year. 40,000 of them are in Wales. It's cutting deep in the places where rugby matters most. So you can just imagine how if you want to direct your anger somewhere and your passion somewhere, then an England-Wales game would have been a pretty good place to channel it.
If you have not already got tickets for the match, be warned because...
Turning up at Twickenham before the game, there was an odd feeling. It's strange, I always remember the time. It was very, very strange, almost hostile environment pre-game.
And here Wales will get a tremendous ovation from something like 20,000 Welsh voices as they come out of the dressing room, led on by Jeff Squire. And here come England. Listen to the roar for them. Jeff Wheel trying to take Colclough out. And already on the far side, just a little bit of heated temper, and Dave Burnett will want to get in there quickly.
It was by far the dirtiest game I ever played in.
From that line out, Terry Holmes in real trouble as the England forwards go through.
There was a bit of a mole, some of their fingers in my eyes from the first kick-off.
And you can see the heat and the temper in this match already.
First 20 minutes, the things that went on in that game. You know, today, there would have been 6, 7, 8 red cards. It was just horrendous. You know, people kicking each other on the floor. Scott and Terry Holmes, club mates, having a good old scrap.
And a penalty for dangerous use of the foot, I think, by Terry Holmes.
The poor old referee was under a lot of pressure from the start.
Referee Dave Burnett is really going to have to sort people out and calm them down.
The referee called the captains and he said, right, I'm not standing this nonsense anymore. The next one is going to go.
And it was a great catch by Colclough Smith. Now in goes Ringer, and a late tackle. And it looks as if Ringer may well be going to be ordered off.
Just couldn't believe it. Now, if Paul had smacked into John Horton, you know, hit him into next week, then okay.
What a moment of drama this is.
A sending off then was like, wow. Because in those days, you had to do something pretty bad to be sent off.
And so, tremendous drama here after only 14 minutes of the first half as Paul Ringer leaves the field.
It was a bit of a shock, but we had a job to do. We had to get on with the game with 14 men.
Eddie Butler going up as a flanker, and there's a try there for Squire. Phillips over the 22. Is it going to be a dramatic winner for Wales? It's a try for Elgin Rees. This kick could decide the match. Looks good. It's over.
It was a memorable game for all the wrong reasons.
And suddenly, Wales are getting a reputation as dirty players.
I think that affected the Welsh game in terms of the psyche, the physicality.
I think that transferred for the rest of the season, yeah, because Triple Crown was gone. Any hopes of a Grand Slam or anything was gone. So, you know, it was a hard one to swallow, you know.
A round of applause for the flag.
After that season, the Welsh Rugby Union have a centenary celebration, and it's a fairly lavish affair. They decide to have a parade through the streets of Cardiff. The military are there. There are choirs. It's almost like a mock Olympics.
Here were a group of men in suits reflecting on a decade of remarkable success.
The responsibilities of being acclaimed a leader in the world of rugby sit lightly and naturally on Welsh shoulders.
The level of pomposity about this is just staggering. And the wider message to the world is that this is how we see ourselves.
And there's a kind of colourful crescendo. Off go the balloons.
We've reached the top of the tree. We are the best in Europe, if not the world, at this sport. And it's going to continue. The centenary celebrations would all come together in one dramatic climax when they play against New Zealand.
Well, just listen to that roar as Steve Fenwick leads on the Welsh side.
We'd done so well in '78, 2 years earlier, that there was a chance of beating the All Blacks. You know, I think that was in everybody's mind. This is such an opportunity for us here.
Everybody's thinking, oh, this time we'll beat them. They won't cheat.
I don't know what it does to the Welsh team, but it frightens the life out of me, I can tell you.
We knew that we'd have to pull out the performance of the year.
Hickory Reid had that one, and it's an interception here by David Richard. David Richard being chased all the way by Allen.
We couldn't really get into the game. They were so much quicker, better skilled, and their game had moved on where ours probably hadn't.
Over the 22, Stu Wilson coming inside. Mooney scores! What a brilliant try! Ball's gone flat out. Out there to Rollison. There's a chance here. He locked it as he went over. But the referee has given the score. Mexted. Now he's the pick-up. Loveridge. That's Bernie Fraser. That's the New Zealanders' third try. Bruce Robertson. Robertson to Wilson. Wilson. Another marvellous tackle by Ackerman. Hickory Reid gets the try.
That game proved that things were beginning to change.
Suddenly you got a very jolting reminder that from a New Zealand perspective, listen, Wales, you're as far away from beating us now as you've ever been.
It then starts unsettling, I think, for the next campaign.
How do you think Wales will play it?
I'm sure it'll be a fast, fluid game.
I mean, you've got to win ball to play any sort of fast, fluid game, haven't you?
Yes, well, we won't be attempting to do anything foolish.
Scotland going to kick off. Andy Irvine starts the match. And immediately it's Gareth Davis. Keith Robertson over halfway. Out to Calder. Calder to Deans. Deans over the 22. Inside to Calder. It must be a try, surely. And it's given. Panic with a drop goal.
They played us at our game, which I thought was a cheek.
Andy Irvine kicking on. Can Irvine get there? A try has been given. And Scotland have won a dramatic victory by 15 points to 6.
We got well beaten in the end. So I thought to myself then, this doesn't all go well for selection for the next game.
Who would have thought as the Welsh rugby squad session began that it would be a day of the long knives? The selectors made 7 changes and 2 positional ones from the losing side at Murrayfield. Why?
Well, I think that the fact that we've had 2 very poor performances by Wales, by our very high standards, and it must be remembered that we've only scored 1 try in 3 games, and that was by a forward.
To drop 7 players, I mean, that was probably as extreme as the Big Five had got.
Was it very difficult to drop people like JPR Williams, Steve Fenwick, the captain?
Certainly a very difficult decision, a decision not taken lightly.
For the fans, it must have felt like this god of 70s rugby has been made mortal by 80s rugby.
If you're the captain and if you can't get things going within the team, they need to bring in somebody else. And you can only have a run for so long. Sooner or later, something's going to change. But it always hurts when you get dropped by them. It's not nice.
More heavy snow. Things are bad almost everywhere, but South Wales seems to be worst hit.
Gareth, you're still trying to get your breath back. That was an unusual training session, to say the least, wasn't it?
Yes, a very difficult fitness session, but I think it's a session that we all wanted, really, after being pretty idle for a fortnight or so.
I'd been picked as captain, so I was, but obviously, did like did.
And hear the great roar as Gareth Davies leads on his Welsh side.
You have to feel a bit for Gareth Davies at this stage. He's the natural heir to the succession: Di Watkins, Barry John, Phil Bennett, then Gareth Davies. But instead, as those players were, surrounded by this hardened, experienced, winning red machine, he's in this period of transition.
Davies from Holmes.
Our tactic was to play a fairly conservative game, but it wasn't the spectacle that the Welsh public were expecting after the 70s.
Ireland the winners by 20 points to 12.
I think that Gareth Davies is stifling the speed of the ball getting out to the three quarters.
Do you agree with that?
They're lacking penetration, definitely.
And here the Welsh team with Gareth Davies, the skipper. That's the little man upon whom so much rests today. Now it's Holmes, Davies.
We tried to play a more expansive game.
Gravel tackled there by Dodge.
And failed to do so.
England repeat their 1980 Twickenham triumph over the Welshmen and destroy Welsh Championship hope.
The Welsh team will field as selected against the Scottish side who haven't won in Cardiff since 1962. The one new cap is Cardiff second row forward, Robert Norster.
It was absolutely top of the shop for me to play my first actual cap game. To play against Scotland was a big thing. To come at the end of a season where we've underperformed, not great.
Gareth, the Welsh team have been criticised recently. Do you think fairly or unfairly?
Well, I think it's a case in Wales that if the rugby side does badly and doesn't win Triple Crowns or Grand Slams, then obviously they are open to criticism. But we're looking forward to putting a good display on, I think, against Scotland on the Arms Park.
Cardiff Arms Park was a fortress in the 1970s. Wales hadn't lost a home game since 1968.
The atmosphere, as you can see from the terraces here, is tense and expectant.
The supporters could always say, well, we might be losing in Paris, we might be losing in Dublin, but nobody beats us here.
Any team arriving in Cardiff knew that they were probably in for it. It was a given that Wales would win at home.
Welsh 15 with something to prove and led for the fifth time by Gareth Davies.
There was an expectation on us to beat Scotland, so I think we decided, let's try and throw it about a bit. Get out there and play some good rugby.
This is Gravel. The immediate Welsh riposte as always. Evans, the fullback, out to Ackerman. Ackerman going for the corner. Big, powerful boy tried to give it inside to Lewis.
He really got it wrong that day.
Davies, he had Evans outside. Across comes Baird, and Baird bursting up the touchline. He's almost up to halfway. He's got Paxton inside him. Paxton is tearing, chased by Clive Rees. A marvellous tackle by the wing. Inside to Domes. Domes to corner. What a try. Blaine still going. Coming inside, looking for support again from his breakaway forwards. Pick up and feed out from Deans. This is David Johnston.
We were just chasing blue shadows all over the pitch.
Davis, Gravel, inside to Ackerman. Rutherford feeds it out.
We should have been better than we were.
Rennick running all the way. Ackerman trying to catch him. Rennick going all the way. Rennick gives it to Elford, to Pollock. Right.
People say, wow, what is going on?
Rutherford trying the drop goal. It looks good. It is good.
I think the fans might have just about stomached it if it was France or England.
Johnston going for the gap, and Johnston is through for a marvellous try.
But Scotland?
Oh dear, it's all going here at Cardiff. The referee's whistle goes for the end of the match.
It wasn't a good home debut to make, really.
It was a hammer blow to the Welsh rugby psyche.
It's a humiliation.
But still, a marvellous performance by the Scots. Their first win at Cardiff for 20 years. The disappointment mirrored on the Welsh faces there.
We didn't play collectively well, and a lot of boys had their throats cut off the back of that game.
The hard times, they'd arrived that day.
The Welsh have a new coach this year. He's ex-Lion John Bevan. He's dropped several leading players. So does this mean a new style?
John was a tough man. He had his own ideas of how to revive Wales.
John was quite an opinionated guy in terms of how he saw the game being played.
You're only as good as your last game, and no one's got a divine right to play for Wales, so to speak, and perhaps one or two players have been playing on reputation a little. I'm totally against that sort of thing, and I'm for picking the people who are playing well.
Brings in new players, and there's a real sense that for all the yearning for the Welsh way of play, the flair play, at this point it's really about results, not performance. He drops Gareth Davis from the number 10 shirt, the captaincy, the team itself.
Back then, there was no explanation. Never got told why. There was no phone call saying, look, you had a bit of a nightmare yesterday, so we're going to give somebody else a chance. That was the end of me as a regular Welsh player.
Wales is going to be decimated to the tune of 70 or 80,000 jobs. And there is no way alternative jobs can be found for that vast number. So you talk about the 1930s, this is even worse than the 1930s.
A demonstration with a touch of desperation about it. These are unemployed young people forming up in Swansea for the Jobs Express. The irony of beginning their working life with the feeling they're on the scrap heap is producing a sense of hopelessness.
Since the steel strike of 1980, jobs are hemorrhaging. But you've also got the difficulties with the Welsh manufacturing industry, which through the 70s had been grown to support the decline in coal and steel. Those jobs are going as well.
Well, I'm very disappointed that the factory is closed. I have been here 27 years. Well, we'll never have another job now.
When you look back, it's quite uncanny that the industrial strife coincided with the decline of Welsh rugby.
Something of a new look to the Welsh 15, 5 new caps.
There were new caps for virtually every game now. I think one old international said they're chucking them about like confetti.
We battled hard, but When you've got a lot of changes being made at one time, it's challenging at best.
Carrollton going for the corner. This could be a brilliant try for England.
But we weren't the side that everybody had come to know Wales as being, really.
The Arms Park was still packed. People still went, but now they went hoping for the best but fearing the worst.
The sense is that Wales has lost all sense of direction.
Just a little bit of feeling of disappointment in the mind of Eddie Butler there, his first championship as Welsh captain.
There's no star player to lift the fans' spirits, a kind of messiah figure that often comes into play when Wales are going through a dip.
From quite a young age, he started to write his signature, his autograph, and he'd say, "What do you think of this one? What do you think of this one? What do you think of this one?" And we'd go, "Oh my Lord, you know, don't be so ridiculous. You're not Tom Cruise. I mean, what are you talking about? Nobody's going to want to know. What are you? Nobody was going to want your autograph." No, and we say, "Oh yeah, I love number 1." So he'd write about 10 of them, just to make him really shut up.
I remember practicing my autograph something where, like a joke or something. But, I don't know if I just practiced because I thought I was going to play for Wales, just in case something happened, I don't know. It's just, you do daft things and you sometimes, so, look, I did practice it then. I lived in Trumsara. It's not an affluent area, it's all working class. Played for school and everything, and played for Trumsara Youth. If you're born in South Wales, I think majority of people want to play for Wales rugby. So I think every kid dreams of being in the limelight. But I think it is a dream. And for me, I didn't have any international honours. I was recognised county level and maybe trials, but I didn't get any Welsh caps at any level, school or youth. I just enjoy myself playing for Trumsara, and then all of a sudden I have a phone call off Neath. Phil Bennett had recommended me.
Well, Jonathan's a fine prospect, and I think he's going to be the key man for Neath tomorrow.
Just go, right, this is my opportunity.
Neath using it again. Jonathan Davis going for the break. What a beautiful break. He's got Elgin Rees on his right.
The great thing about Jonathan Davis,
Here's the dramatic try.
From the age of 18, when I first saw him play,
individualism,
was this swaggering self-belief.
Jones gets away somehow or other. Jonathan Davis thinks about a drop goal inside, gets the drop goal in, it's there.
He had electrifying pace.
Jonathan Davis, who's going to get there first?
And he had ball skills. And he had courage, guts full of courage.
Here's Jonathan Davis. The tackle is missed. I wonder if it'll be the match winner.
I was just loving playing for Neath. The crowds are fantastic.
Jonathan Davis, a speculated drop at goal. It's there.
The atmosphere, the whole town was bouncing. And the whole knoll was behind you. It was just an amazing feeling.
The beauty about Welsh rugby was the vibrancy of the club scene. For all the national team's defeats and for all the angst, Welsh club rugby was still the envy of the world.
Then Jones linking, Jonathan Davis.
When you get to play first class, you get to play against very good players. Mark Ring, Blairyn Bowen, Gareth Davis. The step up was was big.
Jonathan Davis, is that a drop goal? Yes, it is.
Club rugby in the 80s still thrived because it was built on tribalism. Village against village, town against town. And if there was ever a nation in need of distraction and being lifted out of the gloom, it's Wales at this point.
Giving a decent increase in pay for our members, but above all else, giving a commitment that no more pits will close, giving a commitment that no more jobs will be lost.
On March the 1st, the added insult of St. David's Day, Margaret Thatcher announces plans to close 20 pits. And with it, 20,000 jobs in Wales. So the inevitable and natural response by the Welsh miners is to go on strike. The impact is so massive because it changes an entire way of life.
Every fortnight, a hamper goes out to the family of every striking miner in the valley. It's a lifeline. The hampers mean the miners won't be starved back to work.
You take away those jobs, and that sense of self, the pride you took in those hard jobs, just crumbles to dust. And its relationship to rugby was so strong. When your village, your community is under threat from forces that are beyond your control.
What we've got is an attempt to substitute the rule of the mob for the rule of law. And it must not succeed.
You've still got your local guys going out there and representing you. And taking pride in your community and your heritage and your background.
They were difficult times. You had the coal strikes right on your doorstep. And I think the Saturday then was an outlet. I think people just came to, have a good time.
Never have Wales had to wait so long to start a Five Nations Championship. The games against France and England frozen off. It's a case, therefore, of third time lucky. Wales raring to go. Nobody more so than Gareth Davis, back at fly half 3 years after his last international.
When I was called back to playing in Scotland in '85, obviously I was in some ways delighted, but delighted in probably the wrong way, in a sense, wanting to prove people wrong.
It was, great to have him back because obviously we were very close friends. We played most of our career in Cardiff together.
And it's just like old times again in the Welsh 15, I tell you, with the restoration for the first time since 1982 of the Cardiff halfbacks Gareth Davis and Terry Holmes. Knocked back by Morris, nicely out from Holmes. Gareth Davis with the drop goal, it looks good, it's in.
I got a drop goal in the first couple of minutes of the game. It was almost two fingers up at the Welsh camp. So, a really good performance. It was a really good start.
Ireland could make a man over if they move the ball. McNeil is in the line. His crossing going to score. An electric try.
Ireland at home was a bit of a bad day at the office. Mark Wyatt, as fullback, had a bit of an off day with the boot.
Oh, it's just not there today. The men in green hadn't won here since '67, but that scoreline speaks for itself.
And then going to France, I had a miserable day, to be honest. It's probably the worst game I played for Wales.
It's out for Davis, a drop at goal. It's off target.
goes. Can he score a first try for his country? He releases.
And I knew I hadn't played well, but I think most people in the Welsh side would have said the same that day.
They have had to bow to a much more experienced French side.
Performances were leaving much to be desired, so when that happens, the number 10 tends to get it in the neck.
It culminated before the England game. Somebody who was close to some of the Welsh selectors at the time told me that the Welsh side was going to be announced and the number 10 would be another. So I rang the chairman of the Welsh selectors at that time, say if that was the case, then I was out. And he said, oh, don't be silly now. And anyway, that's what happened. It was the side was announced on Saturday with the another at 10.
I was disappointed because he was a very close friend of mine. It wasn't very nice to see someone you had so much respect for and understood how much the game meant to him and playing for Wales meant to him, to see him, you know, being treated the way he was.
How do you feel as chairman of the selectors about the kind of criticism that was voiced over the decision not to name somebody at outside half?
Uninformed, and I think much of it was hysterical.
No other comment to make at all?
None at all.
I must admit, I didn't feel part of the team then. I was really on the outside. They wanted me to play against Markham Dacey because Cardiff were playing Swansea on Saturday. They saw this as a trial match. I really took that as a big insult. So I said, count me out. We hammered Swansea 30-odd points. So I got a call that night from a Welsh selector saying, you've got to play next Saturday. So I said, no, I've made my decision. The selector said, well, who can we pick then? I said, well, there's a young lad playing for Neath, a guy called Jonathan Davis. So is he ready yet?
Congratulations on getting into the Welsh squad.
Thank you very much. I was very nervous but very confident. You play in England, in Cardiff. You know, you dream about these things, don't you?
What do you think Wales are going to do then on Saturday? How are they going to approach the match?
I don't know really, you know, they haven't spoken any tactics, just go out and beat the English. I think that's the main source of attack.
There was a lot of ill feeling in the country as a whole leading into that England game.
It developed into a pitched battle between the miners and the policemen, and well over 20 pickets were arrested and dragged away to waiting police vehicles.
In March of 1985, the miners go back to work after a year of striking, and they do so in such a dignified and poignant way. But the sadness is huge because the fight has been lost. And we know that those communities will never be the same again.
In that respect, that maelstrom of angst and bitterness and feeling that the country's been done down, that all mixed in to making that England-Wales fixture like no other. The country was crying out for a little bit of magic, and Jonathan fitted that bill perfectly.
When you dreamt about it all that time, and then you run out on the real Cardiff Arms Park, it's just, it's ridiculous. The noise is like this. If you go like this on your ears, that's exactly how it sounds. All of a sudden, the penny drops and you think, oh God, I've got to play for Wales now.
that home record against England was still intact.
Beating England, that was the minimum requirement. And as long as you were able to do that, maybe the fans would forgive you for losing the other games.
You don't want to be, the first Welsh side to lose for 20-odd years. And the pressure's on you. You're the new kid coming in. That may be my one and only game.
He was so excited. He was like a young kid, but, he understood the game as well, so he knew where he was and how to prepare for it.
Terry Holmes was just the stand-up player. And you could see I was nervous. Then he just said, look, if you weren't good enough, you wouldn't be here. Just show them what you got.
And here, another of the new cats, Jonathan Davis, very confident young player.
Everything is so much quicker. It's just a different level.
Jonathan Davis, the new young standoff.
It was a very close game and there was never a clear favourite.
What a start for England. Thorburn then, pulling it round. Yes. Martin out to Smith. Smith going for the line. His third try of the season for England.
Sometimes you've got to work a little bit harder. I think that's what we did.
Holmes did marvellously well to get that away. And Jonathan Davis off his left foot.
He was obviously comfortable at that level.
Davis cheap into space. Well, that shows the skill level.
The international stage certainly suited him.
Jonathan Davis, oh, a lovely sidestep past Paul Dodd.
He hit the ground running.
Davis with the drop goal.
My mum was emotional. Every time he got up, every time he did something well.
Sharp peel beautifully out to Davis. Davis going all the way.
We just cheered.
Davis, another Gary Owen.
I just kicked this up and under, I went too far.
Martin.
So I thought I'd better chase it. The English full back takes his eyes off the ball.
Oh, and he's lost it, and the try has been given.
You become someone overnight when you start doing things like that.
Saviour, we found him, Messiah.
It's just an amazing feeling. You think of your dad, you think of your family.
And Wales have won a handsome victory in the end.
And all of a sudden, it's the end of the match, and I suppose my dreams come true.
We are recording, so stand by.
But things change very quickly.
One of the best scrum halves in the world is giving up rugby union and turning to rugby league.
The game is going to change, and radically.
You've got a lot of young players coming through in that team.
We knew it was going to be tough.
Wales was just written off by press and public.
This is Ugly Rugby.
There was something very big looming on the horizon, and that was the World Cup.
There's no roadmap for this. They don't really know what they're doing.
We did a fun run, and that was our preparation.
Wales take the field first.
I'm thinking, right, world, look at me now.
And the crowd on their feet.
He was fast, he was furious.
And this could be his great moment.
We are recording, so stand by.
Well, here's Jonathan Davis and a triumphant ending to what must have been one of the fastest moving weeks in your whole life, actually.
You look back and think the greatest moment ever is like your first cap for Wales. It's an amazing feeling.
Davis. Oh, and he's lost it, and the try has been given.
When you win for Wales, everyone's on a high. And then all of a sudden your world changes and then the attention gets massive,
Jonathan Davis.
Welsh rugby from time immemorial has always looked for a saviour. The saviour has to be the guy who wears the number 10.
It feels like he's been fated to play for Wales since birth. However, you can't pin everything on one man.
Terry Holmes had long been regarded as the best number 9.
And he had this aura about him, and the presence.
Holmes, Davis.
The pairing of Jonathan Davis and Terry Holmes seems perfect. You've got abrasive and evasive.
Now Now it's Holmes. Jonathan Davis, oh, a lovely sidestep past Paul Dodd. Now he feeds out to Holmes.
You know, it's a partnership that would really excite you.
Well, maybe, you know, the second half of the 80s are going to be, they're going to be better, and maybe the good times aren't so far away again.
And Holmes is going the other way. Davis with the drop goal.
And yet, it wasn't to last.
Thank you for coming to talk to us.
Thank you very much.
Terry Holmes with his sleeves rolled up, moving into his second season as the Welsh captain.
Obviously, it's an amazing privilege to be captain of your country, especially Wales. I was born within earshot of the stadium, and it was an incredible proud moment to lead your team out in Cardiff.
For me, Terry Holmes is in tremendous form this afternoon. He's really running at the Fijian defence and looking very sharp with his half-back partner, Jonathan Davis.
He was just a ferocious competitor and great footballer.
Pound for pound, best player probably of all time, really.
Wales throw short, Holmes goes to the line and scores. Terry Holmes releases. Jonathan Davis tempted to break.
I was hoping I could play with Terry Holmes for a while.
The captain's had a bang.
That's a bit worrying, because if you remember back, it was a knee injury that Terry was out for a long while, and he's down on the ground at the moment.
I'd had my fair share of injuries, but this was an injury that wasn't getting any better. It was obviously, you know, difficult to come off, but my body wasn't really up to it.
And listen to this. That's the biggest single ovation for someone I've heard on this ground for such a long time.
And I remember just applauding him off as well. I think all the players applauded him off.
He was very moving, really. Deep down, I probably knew this was my last game.
He was walking out of rugby and into rugby league.
One of the best scrum halves in the world is giving up rugby union and turning to rugby league. He's Terry Holmes, the captain of the Welsh Rugby Union. He's expected to sign tonight for the Bradford Northern League club.
At the end of the day, I just decided it was time to maybe cash in and go and try new avenues.
It's very hard to leave Welsh rugby. It's given me a lot, you know. But I'm 28, I'm not getting no younger, and I've got my wife and a future family to think about.
Rugby union was an amateur sport, and Terry was a working-class kid who realised that his body was his livelihood. And once it came into his mind that there might be a vulnerability there, then the idea of earning money from rugby league was obviously irresistible.
His signing-on fee is £80,000, most of which he gets in a tax-free lump. On top of that, he can earn more than £150 a week in wages. And now he can make appearance money and cash in on endorsements and sponsorship.
You can't play badly, this fella. He's magic.
Is he worth that amount of money?
We're talking about penny. He's worth every penny.
If you'd stayed in rugby union, finished, you would have walked away with really, obviously fantastic memories, and but walked away financially with nothing as such.
You've got to remember, we're all amateurs.
People tend to forget that they had to have a full-time job, that they had to find a full-time job that would give them the time off every weekend, or if they were injured or going on tour.
If you play for Wales, you play train maybe Monday, Wednesday and Thursday. Playing a Saturday, you didn't get a penny. So then you're back to work on Monday morning. That's the reality of it all.
Going north is not a new thing. And working class Welsh players were always the targets for the Rugby League scouts. But it's particularly prevalent in times of economic hardship in Wales.
Here in Wales, the unemployment rate is still climbing and has been going steadily upwards ever since the current recession began in 1980.
Economically, Wales is a basket case. The last mine in the Rhondda closes at the end of 1985. Coal as an industry is dead. And coal has defined modern Wales like nothing else. And of course the heavy industries like steel. A third of all jobs in steel are gone by the middle of the 1980s.
And no matter how you look at the figures, 16 out of every 100 workers in Wales are without employment this new year.
Everywhere you see change and churn. Unemployment rises, wages fall. Mid Glamorgan, the Central Valleys, the heartbeat of Welsh rugby, is the poorest county in the United Kingdom.
Right, gentlemen, I've got information to give you. The first concerns the appointment of a new national coach to the Welsh 15, and Mr. Tony Gray has been appointed. And his appointment will last until the 1st of July 1987.
There was something very big looming on the horizon, and that was the World Cup.
Tony Gray, many congratulations. Very exciting times for rugby, and the term of your office goes up to the World Cup in 1987. How much are you looking forward to that?
Obviously looking forward to the World Cup, but my immediate sights are obviously go as far as January the 18th at the moment. I think that provided we start well and then continue to improve and continue to do well, the World Cup will look after itself.
Had it been left to the individual unions, there would have been no World Cup, because they saw it as another sign of professionalism. And yet they were in the ludicrous position of every team sport had a World Cup, except rugby union.
In the mid-1980s, a lot of coaches had half a mind on 1987, what would be the first global rugby tournament. So there's an element now of building not just per season or a kind of calendar team, but something that might sustain for 2 or 3 years. In Wales, you've got a lot of young players coming through in that team.
I'm brought in as captain. Tony Gray did say that he had 4 wishes. They would all win, 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 win. I'm looking to get as much stability as I can in that team. John Deverell comes in, and he's a force to be reckoned with.
They were building a side with a blend of experienced and younger players.
This is John Deverell. Where did it all begin for you, rugby?
Well, back in my childhood, really, in junior school. It was very daunting, actually, because I was a student. I was a boy, in a sense, playing in a man's game.
Rob Jones comes in for his first cap.
I grew up watching the likes of Gareth Edwards and Gerald Davis and trying to emulate some of the success that they had was always a dream of mine.
What's it going to be like for you stepping into Terry Holmes' shoes?
Actually, I think a lot of pressure's off me because we've picked a running side, more expansive side. So I think the onus will more or less go on Jonathan.
You know, when you've got someone like Jonathan at 10, it's a case of giving him the ball and just leave him perform his magic.
Jonathan was often seen as the lone star, so he kind of bore the burden of expectation even more.
I think for Jonathan, getting his first cap was just the start. People say the hardest thing is getting in. I think the hardest thing is staying there.
It's one thing coming in and stealing the show on your debut, but you know, now you've got to do it kind of 4 times.
At this stage, they are a mid-ranking Five Nations team, if you like, but it's still a side that isn't really anywhere near its potential.
Wales then, a bold selection. Scrum half, 20-year-old Robert Jones, 19 years old John Devereux.
I was so excited and couldn't wait for the kick-off.
I thought, you know, you've got to enjoy it because the number 10 for Wales is just a special jersey. I wanted to do things that maybe were slightly out of the ordinary.
With both sides, a lot of potential and a lot to prove.
Take risks.
Jonathan Davies, 3 points.
Yeah, sometimes it came off, sometimes they didn't come off, but that's the risk you take, I suppose.
You have to really be on your toes to keep up with him sometimes, because he was so quick off the mark.
Jonathan Davies. Good run. Bowen. Yes!
It was my first try against England. And I thought, oh, this is going to be our day.
Now, it's Wales ahead.
But I think we perhaps lost our composure. And we panicked a bit trying to win.
18 points all, and 6 minutes to go.
Rob Andrew had the ball. I closed him down on his right foot, banged the left foot and dropped goal over. You know, that was the difference that day.
That was hugely disappointing, but we knew we were better than that, and we knew we would improve as the tournament went on.
The whole ground here seething with excitement, and listen to this roar for David Pickering and the Welsh side.
The Triple Crown is out of the window, but you know, you've still got a chance to win the championship.
It was my first game at home and running out for the first time at Cardiff Arms Park. Fantastic feeling. I usually just think I'm playing for Wales. I got to pinch myself.
Jonathan Davies, that ball hanging in the air.
Scotland played so well.
Baird, his Kelso clubmate, back inside to Scott Hastings. A great tackle by Thorburn. Jeffrey has scored.
I mean, a couple of lovely breaks.
This is Jonathan Davies, a clean break. Davies, oh, look at the dummy. Oh, what a run. He's out in the clear. Oh, what a kick.
And then I think I was late tackled and maybe I dived a little bit. But, you know, it's up to the referee to call it.
But the referee's whistle has gone and it'll be a double penalty.
I knew that to keep the pressure away from our half, I'd have a go at this kick.
Now, I'll tell you, you won't believe this, but that is the Welsh 10 metres line, and Paul Thorburn is going to attempt a goal. It's miles to those goalposts.
I feel better looking at each other and thinking, what's he doing?
You look at the pitch, it's mucky, ball is wet and heavy.
And I tell you, if he slots this, this will be the kick of the age. What a belt he's given it!
He goes over. We're all like gobsmacked that it happened.
I've seen all the great goal kickers, but I've never seen a kick like this one.
See the whole of the Scottish team, just all their shoulders just drop, and they knocked the stuffing out of them, I think.
And Wales have won an immensely thrilling international by 22 points to 15.
It was a hard fought out victory. To win the second one is a big achievement, and then he just gets the ball rolling a little bit.
Wales growing in confidence with each performance.
It was perhaps the toughest game we were going to play, but we had a real chance of a share of the championship.
I thought, oh, come on, we need to beat them.
We knew, you know, what we were capable of.
Bowen, to Titley. Gets past the first man back inside divide.
We were quietly confident with our own ability.
But France were as good as anything in the world.
They were rammed with players, fantastic players. Serge Blanco, they're busy.
France, I found them difficult to break down.
Maybe we just didn't have that 100% belief that we could maybe beat them.
This is useful to Lafond. Jonathan Davies slips the tackle. Lafond, he's made it! And that indeed, appropriately, the final flourish by France.
A season like 86 where you played 2, lost 2, still the public are saying, this isn't how it used to be.
You win for Wales is brilliant, you lose for Wales is horrendous.
You'd know that the press would be bad press on a Sunday, but it's hard not to read it if it's about you.
It was probably a year when Jonathan was becoming more aware of the realities, the harsher realities of Five Nations life.
And Welsh fans want instant gratification and they want progress because not too far away, just a year ahead, is the first Rugby World Cup.
Well, Phil, third place for Wales in the championship table, but from all you've said, to sum it up in the last couple of minutes, Wales not really ready for a World Cup yet.
No, we're there in 87, and what I would say is that forget the Triple Crown, forget the Grand Slam. We must always try to be with the New Zealanders, the Australians, the South Africans, and I'm afraid today I didn't think we competed or were that good to challenge those people up in the first division.
It caught everybody on the hop. Oh, we've got a World Cup, oh.
There'd been very little international experience in terms of touring, so we were desperately short on that type of experience.
And Wales had planned a tour of the South Sea Islands, and they were due to go there in 88. Well, that wasn't going to be much good post-World Cup, so they brought it forward to 86. Glenn Webb scored tries for fun at Bridgend, season in, season out.
His 14th try of the season, Bridgend's top try scorer.
I was playing pretty well, but the hard part is getting selected, and I wasn't very good at getting picked for whatever reason. I know people used to say because of my colour.
Look at that!
Glenn was only the second black guy to be picked for Wales, and I think it reflects badly on our history.
It was the case that if you were black back in the 80s, you would have to work a lot harder. But I was quietly confident in my abilities, and so, yeah, I got there in the end. Wales hadn't been away on tour since 1978, and so they thought that they'd have jolly down to South Seas. You know, it was going to be simple rugby against the Samoans and the Tongans and Fijians.
I can just remember the crowd being nuts. Massive atmosphere, absolutely chocker.
The referee whistles and the game is off. It is Hadley. Kicks in field, this could be a try. Kummel gets his hands to it.
The game was played in intense heat. It was tough.
It's all out. This is Hadley rugby.
It was ferocious, and unfortunately,
I got booted with a really bad head injury.
I remember him on the floor. He was unconscious. He wasn't in a good state.
The captain of the Welsh side, down on the ground. This could be a pretty serious case.
And there was blood coming out of his nose and his mouth and ears. It was just horrendous. I wanted to play on.
It was the number 8, Fijian number 8. It was blatant. That was well out of order.
I think the boys really kind of dug in then and just had to win the game.
Is the drop kick? Is it there? Yes, it's through. That's the brilliance of Jonathan Davis.
We got the win, good start to the tour. Unfortunately for Di had to go back.
We played the Tongan national side on the weekend.
Just before the kick-off, they had a prop, Tavita Bloomfield, gave us the sign of the cutthroat. I thought, you know, good alive.
It all kicked off 20, 25 minutes into the game.
They were running around, just punching, fighting, just crazy.
We were all wrestling with our opponent, our opposite number, and it was a bit of a standoff. And Adrian Hadley jumped in the middle like Batman to break it up. And this fella just swung and it hit Adrian the next week, who literally collapsed on the spot.
I stepped in as a pacemaker and woke up in hospital.
You know, I think a few of us were just looking on and thinking, we shouldn't be playing here. This shouldn't be happening. This is international rugby. It's just turned out to be, you know, this huge brawl.
I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm glad I'm not up there. And they went, I looked to the stand, I'm like, Glenn, come on. And that's why I had my first cap.
Unfortunately, there are no highlights because the video went missing. Wonder why.
I remember the dinner afterwards, and Jiffield got up and did his speech.
They asked, would there be anyone who could say, you know, a few words in their native tongue? For some unknown reason, they picked me. So I just got up and actually said what I thought of it all.
It was a country he'd ever been to in his life. And he just slated him with a whole tirade of abuse. And when he sat down, everyone got up and standing ovation.
I was like, lovely. Brilliant, Jeff.
Thank God they didn't find out what I'd really said, otherwise I'd have kicked off again.
We were in the trenches fighting against some very big physical guys.
Things getting a little heated in there now.
In the face of adversity, you just basically close ranks, don't you? And it's you against the world.
This is Hackney Rugby.
The Welsh Rugby Union would have seen that as a pretty good tour. But it's extraordinary to think how little attention was given to player welfare, both on and off the field.
If you had a really bad injury, you were on your Todd then in those days. I booked the neurosurgeon and paid for the neurosurgeon myself. The tests of the scan, and they showed quite clearly that I'd had a bleed on the brain. And he told me, you're one lucky boy. And it could have been a life-changing injury, you know. So it does make you reflect that, you know, you've got to look after yourself and you've got to look after your family as well, because they've got to survive. It's tough.
England versus Scotland at Twickenham and Wales versus Ireland at Cardiff have both been postponed. Still on rugby, and Jonathan Davis, the Welsh international fly half, is set to become another export from the Union to the league. It's the money which can be made from league football which might tempt him from the amateur game.
At that time, the main source of news was from newspapers, magazines, and a relatively new one had appeared called Sports Week, and they had a scoop and a half in which Davis said that one day he would go to rugby league.
You can't underestimate how controversial it would have been. You could get banned from the game for even speaking to a rugby league scout. Career over as far as Union is concerned.
I was investigated by the Union. You know, they said I was soliciting myself. They could ban me from the game because I'd breached the amateur status laws.
The fact that Jonathan Davis was prepared to do an interview just shows that before the '87 World Cup, there were certain pressures bubbling under the surface, a certain frustration with the Welsh Rugby Union.
Jonathan Davis was obviously in cheerful mood as he joined his teammates at Cardiff Wales Airport, now assured of his place in Saturday's match against France. He's told WRU officials that the remarks which could have endangered his amateur status were taken out of context. And this morning the WRU confirmed that the matter is now regarded as closed. After snow forced the postponement of the Ireland game, Wales are starting their campaign with what many think will be their hardest game. Their captain isn't daunted.
Well, there's a lot of talent in the team, both behind and up front, and I'm sure we'll do very well, and we'll be looking to expose any weaknesses they have, and I'm sure we'll pinch one or two tries.
I've had a full recuperation. The selectors keep faith with me and pick me as captain.
Perfect conditions, the sun in the face of the French in the first half.
The atmosphere was spectacular, the noise, and there was a real cold run in Parc des Princes.
Could this be a dream beginning for Wales? Off the bar and over. Here he goes, boom. He's done it again.
He was a rock thobby. He kicked the goals for us. He had a big boot to just clear our lines.
He's done it again.
I'd kicked 3 goals, and then Serge Blanco stuck an up and under up near the touchline. As I caught it, he hit me.
And that is a critical blow for the man who's scored all Wales points so far with the 3 penalties. Paul Thorburn looks as though that's the end of this game for him.
It was a very disconsolate Paul Thorburn that turned up for treatment this morning.
My main concern, obviously, was getting back ready for the World Cup.
The collarbone is in essentially 2 pieces there with the break near the middle.
I think it's fair to say that everybody wanted to be part of that squad.
There's never a Wales-England game without a bigger context, but this one has the biggest context of all. Wales are hanging on by their fingertips to a home record of never having lost to England in 24 years at Cardiff.
Have you ever contemplated losing?
No, I think if we lost, I'd be totally ostracised by the rest of Wales. I've got no intentions of losing. The boys are in a good frame of mind, and we're very, very determined to win.
The relationship between Wales and England is certainly complex. Maybe it's because Welsh working class society is feeling much put upon by what is occurring politically and economically. There was a resentment against these guys who were coming across the bridge in their Barber jackets and so on.
Psychologically, England face an uphill task.
This one is a bit special. I mean, for an England side to go down to the Arms Park, that's the one that every Englishman wants to win. It just depends whether we can overcome the Welsh home advantage.
England hadn't won in Cardiff for 24 years. 24 years without winning. That had assumed monumental proportions, and that would transmit itself to the crowd.
Playing England in the 1980s, it became more than a game.
It's buzzing like a beehive in anticipation of this 92nd meeting between Wales and England.
It became something tasty, something special, occasionally something nasty. It became an act in which there was an identifiable enemy.
The changing room, we've never been like that before. The menace in the side, you know, and they were saying, we're not going to take a backward step. And then coming out, the volume, you could feel it.
I didn't want to be the captain going down in history as the guy who actually lost that record. So there was lots of pressure.
When you played at home against England, you felt like you'd had a real cap.
pinched by Robert Noster, fed out from Pickering. Beautifully along the line to Devereux from Jonathan Davis. This is Glenn Webb. Oh, what a superb tackle by Rory Underwood.
That's the time when I really thought, yeah, I'm there on merit.
England were desperate to win.
Just exploded.
And I tell you, this has got to be sorted out. What a start to an international. Totally unnecessary. And there, Phil Davis on the ground. Punches thrown.
Wade Dooley smacked Phil Davis and fractured his cheekbone.
Well, he really has had a tremendous bang there. Now, Phil Davis anyway going off the field.
So you had to be strong, you had to be tough in people's faces. England were chiefly the perpetrators, but I don't suppose we were totally innocent because we were standing up for ourselves.
Rose to Andrew.
I gave an audible elbow to Rob Andrew. I caught him really flush. Just knocked him out.
We come out of that on top, and that's when the game changed.
Jonathan Davis. Oh, he's escaped. This is a great run. What a marvellous run by Jonathan Davis. Davis switching. Oh, that's another awkward ball for Marcus Rose. Up comes Glenn Webb. Taken by Underwood. Underwood is the pick up by Stuart Evans. Evans drives. The try is given. Look at the crowd.
Their tactic of roughing us up backfired on them massively.
It was a really, really tough game of rugby.
We had a couple of injuries as well. That knocked us back a bit.
The referee's whistle has gone for the end of the match. England still haven't won in Cardiff since 1963. Laidlaw goes blind. On near to Finlay Calder. Calder has dunked him inside. Oh, what a tackle by Moriarty. Derek White. Jeffrey has scored. That's the decider for Scotland.
It wasn't the best season for us. You know, we couldn't get the results we wanted to in that particular year for some reason.
When I first came into the side the year earlier, Tony Gray wanted us just to play without natural flair and ability. We genuinely let ourselves down.
There's no worse time to have a bad Five Nations than the year of the first World Cup. And Wales are just written off by press and public.
Nobody was sort of saying, let's get to New Zealand and win the World Cup. You know, it was, when are we going to get better again?
How conscious are you of the injury now?
The doctors informed me that it's healed and probably stronger than ever. But, you know, I'll still be waiting for that first bang on it to see how I come through.
I had to prove to the coaches and the selectors that I was fit to go on the World Cup campaign.
Into it, bang, that's it.
I just wanted to be on that flight.
The 26 players, along with 5 officials, posed for the official photograph at the National Stadium this morning.
I was obviously disappointed not to be part of it. You know, it's a dream ticket. But do you know what? I was fully behind the boys.
Instead of training in Cardiff, you know, or getting together, we just went for Tenby for a weekend. There was a weekend of having a few beers.
And we did a fun run then on the Sunday along Saundersfoot Beach.
There was a lot of supporters there, just watching us amble, half pissed.
And that was our preparation for the 1987 World Cup.
The Welsh Rugby Union don't really know what they're doing, and yet they're preparing a squad of players to go and take on the best in the world on the other side of the world.
You know, the sport was evolving and it was moving towards professionalism. There were questions as to whether the Welsh Rugby Union was fit for purpose.
There's nothing sinister about the WRU. It's just that they lack any concept of what the game is all about. That it really is the same now in their eyes as it was 20 years ago. Well, unfortunately, the game has changed, and the game is going to change, and radically.
On the eve of departure, are you ready to beat the world?
Yes, I think the final preparation has gone down very well indeed. I think they proved their fitness 100%. And I would say, yes, they are ready to play for Wales in the first match.
I have the greatest pleasure in declaring the 1987 World Cup tournament officially open.
I don't think any of us for 1 minute knew what the heck the World Cup was going to be like.
Well, first of all, a reminder of the tournament framework as it affects Wales. We have to contend with Tonga, Canada and Ireland.
First game was in Wellington. When we got there, we got to sign a form saying that we wouldn't make any financial benefits from rugby.
It was made clear to us that we couldn't promote ourselves for any financial incentive.
What was interesting was that we went back to our hotel rooms, turned on the TV, and there were the All Blacks advertising farm machinery or flavoured drinks.
Obviously, there's a famous Steinlager advert, which was on every time the TV came on. They were always see shots of them putting a gum shield in their mouth, passing a rugby ball. But I didn't see a pint in the frame whatsoever.
They were so far ahead of us. Even when it came to professionalism, they found a way.
You're not doing it for free, are they?
Stand by the All Blacks. We are.
Welcome to Athletic Park, Wellington.
Ireland was going to be a must-win game.
Wales take the field first. The mascot held aloft and a supporter with a leak.
Nobody expected Wales to progress.
They're about to make their debut on a global stage, and no one's given them any chance of success.
So all the build-up, the training is over.
Thorburn was the link man from Jonathan Davies. Now to Mark Ring. Lovely dummy to Hadley. It's Ring still.
It was a tense game. The emotion and the adrenaline to get yourself where you should be, it was emotionally draining.
Hoffman and Munster, Terry Kingston with the throws.
I mean, we were counting around 25-metre line for most of the first half.
Ringland against Thorburn. Irish packer there in good strength. Well, they've certainly contained Ireland well. As Wales survived the Ireland pressure. Kiernan. Long feed through to Crossan. McNeil looming outside. The tackle is high by Devereux.
I gave a penalty away just before half-time and we went down 6-0. We went into the change room and that was the buzz, you know, the talk was, you know, we've got these.
Jonathan Davies, Mark Ring.
We felt quite confident as the game progressed.
Thorburn 2-1 here with Thorburn going himself. Inside though is Devereux. Devereux inside the ring. It's a great score.
Mark Ring making history, the first Welsh player to score a try at a Rugby World Cup.
Mark Ring, the hero at the moment.
This is the only try I scored. Played 32 times for my country and scored 1, and that was it.
The happy bench down there with Derek Quinnell and Tony Gray. There it is, the final whistle goes, and it's first blood to Wales.
We're quite pleased with doing that, particularly going into the campaign on the back of what was a disappointing Five Nations.
The Welsh team here will not lack support for this crucial match. A new look Welsh side from those who beat Ireland with Glenn Webb. It's a talented and quick back division.
That was the best moment of my life, being selected to play for that game. I was looking forward to it. It was my first game on the world stage.
Stacey, Ring misses out everybody to Hopkins, and a great chance here for Webb. He's got Thornburn outside him, but Webb has gone on his own. The first try of the match to Glenn Webb.
He was in the form of his life.
Ring the chip meant for Webb.
The peak of his career.
Can Webb take it? Yes, he can. The try has been given.
I knew that I was right on top of my game. You know, I was in such a great physical state. Right, Lord, look at me now.
After our experiences, you know, on the previous tour, we knew what to expect.
This is Hadley. Hadley, these shoulder charge tackles are quite jolting. And once again, thumping tackle.
I think that was their game plan, really, just to beat us by a process of elimination.
Now it's out to Webb. Oh, and that could be bad.
This Tongan fullback just came in with a flying tackle. And it was lights out. I was out for about 10 minutes.
And so here's a real sad sight indeed for Welsh eyes, because Glenn Webb is down.
So the medics came on and they wanted me to go to hospital. It got overruled by the Welsh establishment. We'd already used 2 subs, and in those days you could only have 2 substitutes. And so they said that, oh no, Glenn will be okay to stay on.
Don't think Webby had a clue where he was. You look into his eyes and he was, you know, there was as if something wasn't there, wasn't right.
And it looks as if Glenn Webb's going to return.
I could see that Webby was in a bit of bother. Passed the message on to say, look, he's in a bit of a bad way. Bizarrely, the message came on to say, well, look, don't worry, we've used our subs, just keep the ball away from him. But they kicked the ball down the field, and I was trying to get under it, but the wind was swirling so much, it was difficult. I just stood up, I got control of the ball.
Chance of a breakout.
In the corner of my eye, I could see Webby, and I just instinctively threw like a long sprint pass.
Out there to Webb, and Webb has gone. Webb away. He's in the clear almost.
And he's danced through the whole of the team.
Oh, what a try this is going to be for Glenn Webb. His 3rd try of the match.
He scored almost one of the best tries of the tournament.
Generally, he didn't have a clue. The fact he just scored a hat-trick for Wales.
As he put the ball down into the post, he just broke down in tears. I've known him all my life. I've never seen Webby cry, never seen him shed a tear in his life. He was looking at me and saying, look, Ringy, he said, I know you. He said, I don't know anybody else. Where am I? And the tears were rolling down his face.
The day after, they said, oh, Glenn, unfortunately, because of protocol, you're going to have to go home. I said, why? He said, well, it's for your own good. And then I lost it a little bit. I'm saying, well, what do you mean it's for my own good? I said, if it was for my own good, you'd have taken me off. When I actually had the injury, you didn't even send me to hospital. all through my career, I had to fight and fight and fight and fight. And I knew that I wasn't really appreciated or respected by the selectors or the union or whatever it was. And that was evident there, you know.
There was a realisation that Australia and New Zealand were even further ahead than they had been.
12 tries scored by the All Blacks.
New Zealand were blowing teams away, even at half pace.
And New Zealand have now scored a staggering 144 points in 2 matches.
Final score of 70 points to 6 for New Zealand.
The World Cup, if you could win that, would put New Zealand at the top of the world in the way that a heavyweight champion is top of the world.
They're going to get the score again. All Blacks thundering in. That's the try that seals the match for New Zealand.
And this is where it's all about to happen. Ballymore Park, the rugby centre of Queensland.
They were favourites to beat us in the quarterfinal, without a shadow of a doubt.
It's quite strange, isn't it? I mean, here we are in subtropical Brisbane, and the thought of playing England, it's not quite the same as Twickenham or the Arms Park.
It is strange, but, you know, once Monday comes now, it won't be any different. You know, it'll either be the same as the Arms Park or Twickenham. We're just an international. England haven't beaten us 25 years away from home, so...
We were made aware that England had booked their hotel for their semi-final.
You always make a big thing out of it by saying, oh, big-headed English. But, you know, you have to prepare for these things. If you do stay, you have to stay somewhere in your hotel. I'm sure we'd booked as well. and we hadn't booked, did we? Oh, there we are. They must have thought we were going home then. I don't know what happened.
The 93rd match between Wales and England about to get underway.
You're there singing an anthem you've loved on the world stage. I think we started to realise the eyes of the rugby world are looking upon us and they want to see what we're capable of.
It's a game where Wales are under pressure for a large part of the match.
Back to Williams, the left-footed Hoy. Corbin seems to be momentarily out of position, and it's Asher Coleman.
We didn't play to the style we wanted to play.
Conditions weren't particularly what we wanted.
But we did what we had to do. Rob Jones had a brilliant game. He was a class player, wasn't he?
Wales have it. Jonathan Davis will switch through to Bennett Morin. The legs seem to be okay to Richard Collins over the halfway line. He's got John Dever outside as he finds it. The delivery, the trick ahead by Robert Rowe.
It was a 50-yard kick through. It was my first international try for Wales. It was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant.
We pulled away. You know, we knew we had the better of them. It was a great feeling, you know, to beat England is great. And the best bit about beating England was that we took over their hotel booking.
Wales are through to the semi-finals of the Rugby Union World Cup. This morning they beat England by 16 points to 3 and now play New Zealand for a place in the final.
There's a feeling, I think, that we've got the bones of a good side here. We've got the bones of some young players who've transformed this team, and this team is capable again.
We are winning and we're not really playing well. Somebody could be in for a shock if we start playing well. We're coming on nicely.
New Zealand are firm favourites against a Welsh side, not one of whom was born when Wales last beat New Zealand in 1953.
We knew they're probably the best team in the world at the time. Obviously got to be difficult, wasn't it?
For Wales to win, what exactly have they got to do?
Simple as I've got to die for our country on Sunday. Simple.
I'd never played against the All Blacks. A lot of the players had never played against the All Blacks, so there was no real gauge, was there? But we knew it was going to be tough.
The kick from Thorburn gets the 12th match between Wales and the All Blacks underway.
The reality came in the first couple of minutes.
The try has been awarded. After 4 minutes of play, it goes 6 points to 0.
We knew this was going to be a long afternoon.
And it's a powerful drive over the Welsh try line. Another try.
We were just chasing shadows.
Cohen has scored for the All Blacks and is going to go all the way around the post.
In every aspect of the game, they were better than us.
Gallagher, Cohen, play for a second. It's John Cohen.
We were just a question of hanging on by how many points, to be honest.
Lifted it high. The flags go up.
They wanted to nail us. That's how dominant they saw themselves.
Robert Jones has a quick look around. Jonathan Davis. Up to John Devereux.
I mean, I scored the only try of the match for Wales that day. It was a proud moment. It would have hurt them having Wales score against them.
Surely be some heartfelt bruises on the Welsh lads when they leave the field tonight.
These All Blacks, when we came up against them, we had no answer.
The gap between New Zealand and us was vast.
With New Zealand so far ahead and Australia likewise, it left us to confront the grim reality that Wales were a long, long way behind.
Without a shadow of a doubt, New Zealand and Australia were going down the semi-professional, if not professional route. And we're never, ever going to catch up if we carried on like we were, because the gap would just get bigger.
Interception almost by that outcome. A great try, Rodriguez standing on and Blanco has scored. That's the try, surely, that takes the Frenchman into the final. What a moment for the French.
The Aussies came out with, why bother? Why do we have to play this game? It's a waste of time.
The Australian players couldn't really see any value in playing Wales. They thought this was a match really that was beneath them.
The arrogance gave us the motivation.
The New Zealand game, that was tough to take. And I think we all just said, we can't go out there and lose again. Look, let's give it one more shot.
Australia, they were maybe second best in the world. The whole New Zealand public got behind us. You know, they didn't want Australia to win over there.
Even though there was speculation that Australia were really not that bothered, I can tell you they were bothered.
Just a bit of friction between Roberts and Cody.
You could see they wanted to take our scalp.
And again, it's David Cody, who must be living dangerously and has been sent off, having had the first warning.
And that was reassuring that we knew that this was a proper test match.
Plans to mark Ring now.
It was one of the only matches I've ever played in my life where I played the game off sheer instinct. It was fast, it was furious.
What a score! And Wales can ill afford to give away tries like this. And Paul Moriarty pulls one back.
Jiffy would try things.
The This is Jonathan Davies, and he's got lots of support. This is Devereux.
Even I made a couple of breaks. It was quite an open game. I think both ourselves and Australia wanted to just finish off with a bit of a flurry.
The bitter pill to swallow that'll be for Wales.
John Devereux handed off 3 or 4 Australian players on one run.
Devereux in the middle. What a handoff. Twice bowls them over. First it was Slack and then it was Liner.
I just fancied my chances of straightening the lineup and handed off Andy Slack, Michael Liner, and fell on the floor, tripped up or something, and then I got up and I just looked for another Aussie to attack.
Well, a couple of handoffs to remember there. John Devereux certainly made his mark.
We were obviously trying to score to go back in front.
We move into injury time, 21 points to 16.
Jonathan put an up and under up.
It needs a try and conversion.
John Devereux competed for it, won it. It came along the line.
Evans, the ring, there could be an overlap here. Paul Thorburn, Thorburn goes. Thorburn to Hadley and on the corner.
I didn't have to do much, just run it in and get the ball down very quickly.
And the crowd on their feet, the banners aloft, the joy unbounded. But there has to be a conversion now. It's 21 to 20. And would you like now to be in the boots of Paul Thorburn?
In moments like that, you just got to keep thinking, go back to your basics, go back to your basics.
Paul Thorburn, this could be his great moment in rugby history. It's superbly kicked. He has done it. That brings the final whistle. It's all over. And Wales are third in the first ever Rugby World Cup. The most dramatic finale you could wish to see.
We had a fantastic day. It was one of the best games of rugby that I played in.
And look at the joy and delight to greet their triumph now.
I remember coming off the field, I was just filled with emotion and the tears were streaming down my face.
Beaten 49-6 by New Zealand in the semi-final.
To beat them was a huge achievement for us.
Wales have come back with pride and a game that no one will forget.
We'd redeemed ourselves.
They've come back and restored their confidence.
We were 21-year-olds, 22-year-olds, 23-year-olds. They felt we were on the cusp of something really, really good.
And it was a question of how much better could we be.
Suddenly, the Welsh press have gone mad.
It's a Triple Crown triumph for Wales.
It's going to take a really good side to beat us.
The 1988 All Blacks side will be up there with the greatest team of all time.
I mean, the tour was disastrous.
They were just on fire.
A tour which will go down as the worst in Welsh rugby history.
Welsh rugby needs to change.
Did nobody stop and think, let's hear what they've got to say? But no.
And then, out of the blue, a phone call comes. That's when it all started.